At every level, someone has architected the way the work gets done. Whether they did it with a very systematic approach is the point.
For me, architecture is part of getting organized.
It is being intentional about the design of how work gets done to achieve the results you want. If you want less stress, more time, more money, then you should be thinking about this stuff.
Start thinking about it and figure out how to get it done, because life changes.
If you have too much stress, if you don't have enough time, if you're losing money and you don't know where it's at, this is for you.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cashflow Contractor.
I thought it was pretty cool, because it was pretty cool that last week or the week before, you emailed me your book, which I was going to print off because I like to read things on paper.
But you did you?
No, I didn't print it off.
I printed it off.
Oh, man.
And I printed it off on 28-pound paper because it's what we had at our house. And man, it looks way thick. It looks like this thick.
Gravitas.
Yeah.
Well, it's changing the subject, but there's a book out there called The 7 Fundamental Stories. The tragedy, the epic journey.
Okay.
There are 7 types of stories that that man responds to. And I thought, man, that would be good to understand for marketing and stuff. So I ordered this book. It looked normal from the front on Amazon. When I got it, it's 4 inches thick. That's exaggeration, but it's fully 3. And you open it up, it's about 11 font. And I said, I will never, this is completely irrelevant to the topic today, but I will never open that book. I was going, oh my God, it would take me a year and a half to read it.
That's actually one of my pet peeves about all the AI-generated content that people give is AI will give you this massive, thorough response, and people will just copy the whole thing and send it to you. And they even probably haven't read the whole thing, but they're like, oh, this is a good response, or this covers it. And they'll send it. It's like, I wanted 2 lines. Like, I need signal. Like, I need what is actually, give me the decision. Give me the main point.
Well, I think this book on the 7 types of stories probably has some good information in it. If I'm ever writing an epic I don't think rom-com was one of them, but it fits in one of the categories by a different name. I might benefit, but I'm just going, holy cow, for background information in my brain, I don't have that much brain space left, But anyway, my friend Khalil wrote a book, and it is excellent. 90 pages, as I recall. And I thought
that's with the glossary. It's actually a little bit less, but yeah.
Okay. Well,
if you exclude the glossary, I think it's like 70 pages, but
yeah. Well, I used to think, including on writing my book, that you needed some volume there to make it worthwhile. And I guarantee you, especially nowadays, if you can cut it in half, it's worthwhile or more. It's more worthwhile because you distill it down, and people today don't really appreciate you wasting their time. So
exactly,
a lot of times you can do that. But anyway, it's a really good book, and it's about work architecture, which you're spending a lot of time on. And I never really called it that in my coaching. And for me, architecture is part of getting organized. And maybe it is all of it getting organized. But first, I would like to hear from you, what is work architecture?
What is work architecture? So this comes from really what I've done over the years of really helping business owners integrate technology into their businesses, create systems around marketing, around sales, around team collaboration and communication, all these kinds of things. You can't just go and we'll talk about this in the principles, but you can't just go and adopt a tool. It's not going to work. You actually have to be intentional about the design of how the work is done. And that's what work architecture is. And, I struggle with the phrasing of it because you can use systems architecture, but that's a completely different thing. That you're getting into data centers and servers and data warehouses and how technology stacks at a very like basic level of data typically connect. And that's typically what systems architecture is. And systems are a part of work architecture, but I'm not in that realm. You tell me to go and set up a data center, I have no idea like how you're going to make it work. Okay. And so I'm not a systems architect, but I am a work architect. You tell me what you're trying to accomplish in a specific area of your business, I can help you architect how the work gets done to achieve that output. And not just a system, but a system that is tailored to your business, to the way that you operate, to the way that your team operates and who your team is and what their values are and all those kinds of things. So that is work architecture. It is being intentional about the design of how work gets done to achieve the results you want. Okay. At every level, someone has architected the way the work gets done. Whether they were intentional about it is the point, right? Whether they did it with a very systematic approach is the point, right?
And whether the different units of different people designing actually talk to each other and the gears mesh.
Sure.
And
yeah. Absolutely.
So everybody knows that you need processes and architecture. They may not call it that.
Sure.
Why don't they have it? Because I know
That's a good point. They do have it. It's there. There's a process. Now, the process probably lives in somebody's head. The process is just second nature or habits, and it changes. It's fluid. But there's a process, right? There's a way that you check your mail at your house. Do you have a system, a defined approach to that? I don't know. Maybe you just throw it on the table or throw it on top of the washing machine when you're in the laundry room, or I don't know, whatever your
That's so funny because that happens the first day you walk into your house and you're still doing it 30 years later.
Exactly.
Worn the countertops down from throwing your keys on there.
Exactly. Were you intentional about it, or no, it just happened?
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing with your work, right? How do we send invoices? How do we respond to customer emails? How do we make proposals? How do we lay out plans? How do we generate scope of works? How do we get material lists? All the different things. You have a process. The work is getting done. If the work is getting done, then there's a process to get it done. It's whether you're intentional about how that's happening.
I want to get to this is making me think of a particular person who shall go unnamed.
Okay.
But I talked to them about processes. They say, "Oh, we got processes." I said, "Well,
I hear it all the time."
No, not residing in somebody's head. Well, we wrote them out. And anyway, I go look, and anyway, why does it matter that they have processes?
It's a good question. I think it matters because if you are going to get more efficient and if you are going to achieve the ideal output that you're looking for, then you have to be intentional about what you're inputting and how you're generating that output. You have to be intentional about what that input is and and how you get to the output you want. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to design the output the way you want it. Does that make sense? Probably a little too formulaic.
Well, no, I can think of things like training. If you want to sell your business, it needs written processes. All
sure, well, that's all depending on what you want, right? So if you're
just the feedback that I get from people is, no, we got this, right? It's really, some people are all about it, want it written down. I'm working with a guy right now who's writing them out. He's just so intentional, loves it, sees the value. Other people just, what difference does it make if they're written down? We know how to do it. I know how to do it. I can tell him to do it.
Yeah. Again, we can just go back to the lines of this show, right? If you want less stress, more time, more money, then you should be thinking about this stuff.
Yeah. And I think what your book talks about, I don't know if we'll cover it today in the 5 principles, but it talks about the opportunities to find out. I remember you showed me a map one time. You've got a tool that goes in and finds out where all your systems affect all your functions. And you find out that you have all these overlapping systems that do the same thing. You only use one of them to actually do it, but the other one that does something else also does that. Anyway, you start looking at that map, which I'll wager nobody listening has ever seen such a map. You start looking at that and you realize, wow, I'm paying for 4 softwares to do one thing.
Or I have 5 people doing this one thing.
Right. And
in
you don't
5
know
different
that.
ways.
And you don't know that if it's just in everybody's head.
No, you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
So, yeah.
We won't get that deep into to what a workflow map and what a function chart is. We'll reference them. But that's not the core of this. I think we can talk about the principles. And I think at a foundation level, what most business owners have to understand is that the work needs to be the foundation, right? And all of these principles build on each other. Okay. So
this is your first one that you didn't allow me to ask because.
Go ahead and ask. I just wanted to make sure that we were. Okay.
That I would get back on topic.
Yeah.
I have them actually written down, so I will.
Okay. Go ahead.
But your first of the 5 principles of workplace architecture are to build around the work, not the people. What does that mean?
It means that work is the foundation. Now, I want to give a caveat here. This is if you have a business, all right? If you are starting out, you can over-engineer your work architecture and it's meaningless. Go and sell jobs, go and get work, go and do things. Like this is for established, I don't want to say established, but businesses that are running, that are generating revenue, serving clients, they have actual people on their team. This is the point at which we're starting. So I just want to be clear. If you're going into startup mode and you're launching a new business, this is good to understand, but you don't need to overthink it. You just need to go and do sales. Okay. So if you have too much stress, right? If you don't have enough time, if you're losing money and you don't know where it's at, this is for you. The foundation, the work is the foundation. Okay. You have to build around the work and not the people. If you've built, this is true for business owners, the work is built around their life, what they do. All of the systems are built around how they think and what's in their head. And that's a problem because then hub-spoke management, everything comes back to them. And that's why they're so stressed out.
Right.
Is because they were the foundation. No different than whenever they have a key employee, right? Or they have the person that's really good at managing projects, but they don't know anything about finance, right? And so they can't do any of the financial aspects of the project. And so the owner always comes in to do the finance aspect when really they need a project manager who knows how to read a budget and knows how to, make sure that the invoices are paid on time and, bills go out, they collect money. It would make the business more functionally sound if that were the case, but they've built around the person, not the work.
Right.
Right.
The way I've seen that in many places where there's somebody, and I hypothetically call her Wanda because I'm thinking of one that was named Wanda, who was a receptionist, but she was really good at shipping. She was an expert on that. She was one who did purchasing. So you start looking at everything she did, billing, purchasing, shipping, and all. So you have an org chart and you put Wanda's name on there. What's the function of Wanda's job? Billing, shipping, organization, No. Yeah. Those are some functions and Wanda does them, but you didn't design something where you have to find somebody in your Indeed ad who does all those things.
Yeah, that's what you call the unicorn role trap, right? Where you create a unicorn role that you can't fill.
Yeah, because it's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And you need 5 people to fill that one role.
Right.
Right. And you would have been, and it's not that people can't fill multiple functions. If Wanda can do that, that's great. But you need to identify that these are separate functions.
Right.
And Wanda's in a unicorn role. And, we had an episode recently where we talk about waste. Wanda's context switching between 7 different functions in a given day there's waste happening there. Although, yeah, Wanda can do it, doesn't mean that she's doing it great.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the unicorn roll trap. But what I think when you build around people, you have this instinct of, something goes wrong, the project's stalling, things are falling through the cracks, and you blame the person. Oh, so-and-so's not doing their job. They keep failing. And the reality is, no, you built around the people. Your system's broken. You need to build around the work. And if you build around the work and you do have the processes, like you mentioned, you can point to the process rather than the person, right? Now, I'm not saying that people don't make mistakes. People aren't wrong. But if you've designed the system to where people play that big of a role, then that's part of the problem. And you're not always going to be able to combat that. You need people to be able to think critically and use judgment and knowledge and all that kind of stuff. But you need to build this system intentionally. So I think one last thing that I'll say there, when you build around the work, you actually have a deeper respect for people, which is a really core tenet of the Toyota way. And too many business owners I see, they love their people, right? But they don't set them up for success. And it comes in so many different flavors. But the reality is, when you build around the work, you are having way more respect for the people. And sometimes respect for the people means this person doesn't belong here because the work needs this. And we're holding this person back because they're really good at that and they're in this role, right? So there's a variety of ways to think about it, but at the baseline, you build around the work, not the people.
Right. And kind of a way I think about it too, the work, there is change, but the work is a constant. People are not.
Quick ad break. It's for me personally. I've got to promote my business and you are my target audience. If you're a contractor, you're running a business that's north of $500,000 in revenue, you already know the grind. You're the salesperson, the project manager, the HR department, and the guy that's fixing problems on the weekends and at 9 p.m. because you own the business and you're responsible. But I've got something for you. I built growth kits just to solve your problem of the chaos that comes with growth. It's a membership that gives you a growth team that's in your corner. It helps with staff, systems, and software. So you don't have to go and hire a bunch of people that you can't afford yet to fix problems that you've never fixed before. If you need to get work off your plate, we help you get up to 3 global talent hires per year as a part of our membership so that you can find low cost, low overhead positions to really take the admin work off of your plate. We mentor them for you weekly so that you're not stuck training someone from scratch. And if you need to give further training to them and other people on your team, we provide workshops to anyone that's at your company. Let me read off some of these first. Workshop titles: Own Outcomes, Not Tasks. 6 weeks going over that with your team in a very engaged setting that's virtual. Client Success and Retention: How to Handle Difficult Conversations. Communication and Meetings Mastery. Delegation Mastery, Business Financial Literacy, and How to Implement AI. That's just a few. We have over 21 workshops that are different going on throughout the year in 2026. If you need to talk through a decision on software or whatever it is, you can talk to anyone on our team to support you in your growth as a construction company. We also provide monthly masterminds with other owners who get it. So it's one membership. It's $600 a month. Your business gets more efficient and not more overwhelming as you grow. That is our goal with the Growth Kits membership. So if you've been white knuckling it and you're wondering when it's going to get easier, this is how you do it. You book a call that's in the show notes. I want to talk to you about it. And then I will show you exactly how we will help you remove some of the roadblocks in your business to growth and help you become more efficient and not more chaotic. Back to the episode.
Okay, so that's the first principle is build around the work, not the people. Your second core principle is make the invisible visible. What does that mean?
Well, it's when you build around people, processes live in people's heads. It's just the nature of things. It's kind of what you said. Oh yeah, we've written down our processes. Have you? Did you just put a bullet point list down? Did you find something online that you thought was a really good SOP and you threw it in a Google Drive?
Yeah.
Right? Like in order to actually improve something, you have to see it, right? It's no different than what you do in your daily life. If you can't see it, you can't fix it. If you're working on assembling something, you need the instructions, or else it just looks like a bunch of parts.
Well, give me an example. I mean, is that kind of one of those places where if you have an org chart and show where every piece of technology affects some function, I mean, is that what you mean by making it visible? You can see,
No,
wow, we have.
So if I were to ask you, what's your process for writing a book, Martin? Right? How do you do it? Yeah.
Like Sunday afternoons.
Right.
No, there is a process.
There is a process. Is it written down? Is your process for writing your book written down?
I won't look good if I answer no, right?
No,
so I'll just say no.
The reality is no, right? And there's the same thing for how you respond to customer emails. There's the same thing for how we generate scopes of work. All these different things. There's a process, but is it written down? And it doesn't have to be fancy, right? But you should be able to see how work flows through your business. And at each step that it's flowing through, how it gets done, right? And when you can see that, now you can make improvements. But if otherwise, your improvements are just shots in the dark. Oh, well, we can do this. Yeah, use that tool. And all those improvements are done in isolation.
Give me an example of how you make something visible.
Literally writing it down.
Okay.
So I don't want to make this big, like fancy thing. Literally make a bullet point list of here's exactly what happens, right?
Okay.
An example would be to make checklists for each task you have, right? So if you ask somebody to follow up with a customer, what's the checklist for following up with a customer, right? Well, the first step is reading the customer's email that they sent.
Right.
Okay. Did you read it? Yes. Do you know what their question is? Yes. Do you know what the answer is? Yes. Did you put it into an email format?
Right.
You don't need to have to go that granular to start. I mean, it's really helpful to go that granular. But when you go through that process and you can see it on a piece of paper, now you can see what you need to improve. You can see what your system is. You have to make the invisible visible.
Yeah, and I like that too, because writing things down, you have to decide what letter goes next to what and what word goes next to what. And you're thinking you can just kind of go, oh, yeah, and then we'll finish it. Yeah. When you got to write it down, you got to write it down. Be specific.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best things you can do for just you as a person is to take all the things that are in your head and to get them onto paper. If you were to sit down and say, hey, what are all the things that need to happen today? And write out your to-do list on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. Okay? What are all the things that have to be done this week? Write them down. What are all the things that have to be done this month? Write them down. What are all the things that have to be done this quarter? Write them down. What about this year? Write them down. Now, go look at your calendar. Look at the last 2 weeks and the upcoming 2 weeks. What are all the things that come to mind about things that you've got to prep, things you've got to do that you didn't already write down? Now go look through your email. What are all the things that you're delaying, that you're leaving as unread because you are going to get to it later? And they have multiple steps that you've got to do to complete those emails. Write those down. Go through all of that and just write it down. And then look at it and see how much relief you feel that now it's visible and not invisible. Right. Because it's just in your head and you're storing it back in this compartment over here that will only become visible whenever someone says something and you're like, oh, I forgot to update the will. Yeah, you did.
And you don't want people answering you because you're going to be embarrassed that you haven't done all the things you talk about. So
yeah, exactly. So you have to make the invisible visible.
The third out of 5 is find and fix the one constraint. And this one is particularly fascinating. What do you mean by one constraint?
So this one's the hardest one to grasp for a lot of people, in my opinion. Out of all of them, this is where you get hung up, and I get hung up on this all the time. And it comes from The Goal by Eli Goldratt, where he says, in his analogy of the factory that he's taking over and has to turn around in 90 days, he's trying to figure out what to fix and what to work on. And I forget the professor's name, the physics professor or whatever, talks about how if the goal is throughput, as much as we can get through the factory as possible to achieve bottom line profit, there's only one constraint that is keeping us from that at any given time. And once we solve it, the new constraint will arrive. But there's only one constraint inside of that process of front to back. And the same is true for any business. Now, in a service business, in a construction company, it may not be as visible to a lot of people, right? Because, and why do you think, Martin, it's not as clear what the one constraint is? What comes to mind for you?
Well, I mean, I only have 5 guys, and there was a tornado went through town, and everybody needs my services, and I don't have the people to do it. Now, that's a special case constraint.
Sure, but the reason it's so hard is because there's problems everywhere.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't you face that? Like, oh, well, this employee's a problem, and then
I thought
this
you were
client
asking for an
this
example
project's
of a
having
constraint.
issues.
Well, they're not. A lot of times the constraint is non-obvious.
Yeah.
And I'd give you an example, except I don't know what it is because it's not obvious. No, I mean, you think it's this, and what it really is something over here that's going on that's affecting you. And it's been a long time since I read Goldratt's book, but a lot of what the effort of that was figuring out how to figure out what you needed to work on.
Exactly. Well, and I think there's all different kinds of analogies. Where does work pile up and all this kind of stuff. But what I see a lot of times, I actually just had this conversation yesterday where business owner, construction business, felt like they needed to hire a new lead designer because they were spending a lot of time on the design phase of their projects, and they needed to free themselves up and make the business less reliant on them. And while that may be true, that's a problem, they need to let that fire burn for a little while, because their biggest constraint to profitability was project management, where they only have one project manager right now, and there's 27 projects, and things are falling through the cracks, and it's a mess, and that person's working weekends, and they're having to outsource project management. It's costing them a fortune, and they really need that in-house because that's why they're not as profitable as they should be, right?
Yeah.
And so that's an example of our one constraint right now is project management. Sometimes the system's a constraint, right? Like a non-obvious one, working with another construction company, and they've got all of these different things moving, and they're worried about how the design process works, and they're worried about how, the projects are closing out at the end of the day or end of the project in their punch lists. There's so many things going on, and they want to implement a software. Stop. You are still working inside of iMessages and WhatsApp across the board. With internally, there's emails, there's WhatsApp, there's Slack, with clients, with subs, with all this kind of stuff. Stop. Your constraint is communication. We can go and implement all these other things, but if you start communicating incorrectly, none of it works. You have to fix communication. So what do? We fix communication. We got every single workplace communication inside of Slack. That is the one place you talk. And there's project channels. Everything goes in that channel. And now we're onboarding clients into that because their design build, their project go for 14 months. It's worth their client being inside of one Slack channel rather than talking to this designer over here, superintendent over there, and then the project manager over here, and then the owners over there. One channel, right? Emergencies, yes, call. But if you're telling, hey, I like the way this looks, put it in the Slack channel where everybody can see it, right?
Right.
So that's an example of the one constraint. And what's hard about this for business owners is that there's so many fires going on, and they want to fix all of it. And your time is best served focusing, I don't want to say 100% of your time because that's really ruthless and no one's really capable of doing that. But 75% of your time, what you spend your weeks on, maybe not your full days on, but your weeks are focused on the one constraint, right? And if you know it's a constraint if you can't solve it in a week, right? If you're solving it really fast, it wasn't a constraint, right? It's usually not that easy to get
temporary problem.
Yeah, or it's a small piece of the constraint.
Yeah.
Right. It's usually going to take a lot longer to get that constraint solved. So there you go.
Okay.
Quick ad break, contractors. I want to tell you about Quo, formerly OpenPhone. I see something all the time. A customer calls in, they talk to one person on your team, and then they call back later and get someone else, and they have no idea what's going on. What do you do when you have a frustrated customer and your team is scrambling to piece it all together? It's just another fire for you to put out. Quo fixes all of that. It's an AI-powered phone system. Your whole team shares one number, or they can have their own individual numbers, but they can see the full call history. They can listen to call recordings, they can see automatic transcriptions, and even AI summaries of exactly what was said. You can tie it into your CRM too, so now the customer info isn't scattered all over the place, it's in one single source of truth. If any of this sounds appealing to you, check out the special offer in the show notes just for our listeners. Thank you for listening. Back to the episode.
Design the system before choosing the solution. That's got a software flavor to it?
Kind of. So I think of solutions in really two ways. There's kind of a third with AI, but a solution is either a tool or it is a person. Okay? So you've got a problem, and some people jump straight to the solution. We're out of capacity, we need to hire somebody. Right? We need to add someone to the team. Another approach they have is we need a new truck, or we need a new piece of equipment, right? A tool. And I throw software in as a tool. We can't manage our projects inside the spreadsheet anymore. We need a tool. We need a software. Okay? And people look to make those, they look to implement a solution really quickly because it's a quick fix and they're looking at a problem in isolation, right? Where I'm saying that they need to step back and they need to look at the system as a whole. What is our approach to this area of the business, right? What is our approach to managing projects, right? What is our approach to communication? What is our approach to client onboarding, right? What is the system that we follow? And if you take a step back and look at the system, and then you're intentional about the design of the system, that will oftentimes solve the problem in and of itself. But only then do you implement the solution, because the solution follows the system. It fits into it, right?
Right.
So rather than you going and buying a software and then it never being used, the reason that happens is because you're buying a tool without a system.
Yeah.
And so you need the tool to fit into the system.
You
go and you hire somebody.
A hammer or a screwdriver.
Right. You go and you hire somebody and then it doesn't work out and then you blame it on the person. No. You tried hiring a person to fix a system problem. You have to take the person and make sure they fit inside the system.
Right.
Right? So that's what that means.
The last one, of the 5, build around the work, not the people, make the invisible visible, find and fix the one constraint, design the system before choosing the solution. And the last one is build continuous improvement into the culture.
Yeah. So this ties directly into the constraint, right? We've got all these problems everywhere, all this kind of stuff. I can't just focus on the one constraint. Well, you can't do it all yourself. Other people have to be trained on how to improve things, right? They have to have an eye for it so they can surface it to you. You can't have visibility into everything, right? And you have to get people bought in to realizing that there are improvements everywhere. And yes, the small improvements are worth making, but it's just not worth the leadership's time, right? The leadership has to be focused on the constraint. There are small constraints that other people face in their individual workflows inside of the small sub-functions process, right? At that level, the employee needs to take ownership of those things, right? If you're frustrated with how your email's organized and that's a constraint because now you can't reply to emails timely, if that's a constraint for you, you should be trained on how to resolve that. Here's a system for how you approach email now, right? Should the CEO be looking at your individual inbox? No. Right? But that's an example for you, right? So you have to build a culture of continuous improvement so that all things are improving and leveling up while you're focused on the constraint. Right. And then if you're focused on the constraint and it's project management, the project managers and the project coordinators and whoever else is working on the projects that is around that constraint is working on it with you, right? Not just you in isolation, because you need them because they're the ones that are running the system. So anyways.
Yeah, along that same line, I can envision people listening to, build around the work, not the people, and find the constraint, make something visible. They get it, but they're also, okay, I've read that. Now I got to go back to work. They don't get anything done.
Yeah.
So that's not the purpose of this podcast, but you help people with this. How do you do it?
Yeah.
You need them with you, but you go in and mastermind this and create the structure. They give you the information, but then you create the first visible chart.
Yeah. So I think sometimes the constraint is the owner and the owner's time specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes it's about getting you out of the weeds so you have time to work on this, because this is the work of, someone who's owning the business, right? But you do need someone to come alongside you, just like a builder may need an architect for structural drawings, right? Same concept. Just like an architect, they're going to ask you questions, right? To figure out what your preferences are, to figure out what your vision is, to figure out where you're trying to go with the home or the building. And then they're going to map it for you and make it visible, right? Work architect. That's what we do. We go through and we extract out of you and your team, not just you, but your team, how the work gets done currently. And then we make it visible for you, right?
Yeah.
And once it's visible, then we can identify the constraint. And then we work with you on that constraint. So that's exactly
it's not
what
up to them saying, oh, that's a great idea. How do I start? You actually start with somebody who does it. So, I think it's fantastic. And I still go back to that org chart I saw with all the places where the tech
a function chart.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, that's a beautiful device. What do you call it?
Function chart.
No. Not a relic.
Artifact.
Artifact. Yeah, I'm starting to see that. Have you got an artifact for that? I don't know. Got a piece of paper with that written on it? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's really cool. And I hope it gives people a context, start thinking about it and figure out how to get it done, because life changes. I have one guy who has looks like a kid's board game with, the steps across where you move your playing piece.
Yeah, flow chart.
And it's just, but it didn't have a lot of diversions and so on, but
okay.
But you could just see everything you had to do. And when in this case, don't know if it applies universally. Blue was a certain part of a function. The next spaces, maybe 4 or 5 of them, was red, so on. So you could tell where you were in the process and what the next step was. Mm-hmm. And also by looking at colors, you could see who was responsible, where it was reported. And it really makes things clear really quickly. So, well, with that, I think it's about running us out of time.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I'm happy to talk about this more, and we could do full episodes on each of the principles and beyond. But yeah, it's. If anybody's interested in the book, it's not released yet, but I'm happy to send you a copy. I'm actually working on a public-facing version. This is more of an internal tool right now, but would be happy to share that. And I'm posting about it regularly on LinkedIn and Twitter, so you can follow me there.
Yeah, no, it's great. You did a great job.
Okay.
Okay,
well, thanks,
man.
Martin.
We will see you on the next one.
Okay.
Thanks. You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And It's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out the Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.